Okay. I believe you weren't initially a keyboard player. You dabbled in a bit of French horn at school and also played guitar beforehand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I started the first official uh, instrument I played was at school because they had a French horn there, and nobody wanted to play it because they said it was the most difficult instrument. I thought that'll do for me. I just I took to it because my sister was going out with a French horn player in the local symphony orchestra, but I just like the sound that's, all those Guy Mitchell records and some beautiful horn sections. I still to this day love horn concertos and whatnot. Yeah, and then later on, of course, Lady Rock and Roll got hold of me, and I started fiddling around on guitars and stuff. And I played. I had a three-piece band called the Black Hawks, and I sang and played rhythm guitar. Didn't bother with solos. I had another guy that played solos. So so first French horn, then I dabbled on the guitar, and then and later on I wanted to play the piano, but my keyboard player decided to go and work at a bank, to get a proper job. So I took over the piano stool. He taught me a few things. He still plays with me now. Actually, he's retired, but he comes back and he plays with me now, and he's still teaching me bits and pieces on the piano. Yeah.
Tell us about the music scene in Bournemouth when you were starting out. Was it a lively scene there?
Oh yeah, really, always a very high standard of music in Bournemouth. Still is, because you have a symphony orchestra there. You also have the seaside entertainment business there, with shows, reviews, or I don't know what you call it. Shows and pantomimes and stuff. We have pantomimes in the theatres, and on the pier there is a theatre on the main Bournemouth pier, where they always have live shows, and stars come down and play there. There's also another concert hall now. There used to be Winter Gardens, which was a proper concert hall. That's been pulled down, and instead they put up a BIC, I don't know what it's called, a centre, Bournemouth International Centre it's called, but it's a modernised venue for doing big shows, TVs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And all over there were jazz groups, rock groups, whatever. Almost any kind of music you could get involved in, which I did. I was guesting with people, going along and just like, the trad band. I'd go along and sing Bill Bailey or something, and they go, "Who is this guy? He seems to be doing everything." But I got a proper job playing music in the local orchestra that did the tea dances and stuff, because they needed a bass player, a string bass player. And as I played French horn, I knew the bass clef. I had to play in bass clef. I had to play in treble clef. So I knew how to do two in the bar on a string bass. So I got my union card through doing that. Playing in a thing. But I was doing rock gigs as well, with playing piano and singing, as well as doing that. So just music for me. I'm afraid, yeah.
Do you have clear memories of your first gig with the big roll band?
Well, yes, we had. I had a sort of a semi-pro big roll band back in Bournemouth before I teamed up with Andy Summers and Colin Allen. That was a little later on, and then we went to London. I went to London on my own, and then insisted they come up and sort of sleep on the floor, and we went professional with the Rick Gunnell agency. But before that, I did actually have a semi-pro band of all Bournemouth guys, But I was doing gigs like that with, in fact, the piano player I was talking about, who still plays with me now, Al Kirtley. He was playing the piano in that original band, and it was he and I sort of formed the group, really. Unfortunately, three of the other three members, actually other four members, are all dead now, of course. Well, not of course, but I mean, a long time ago.
Mm.
But I did gigs around Bournemouth, drill halls and youth club gigs all around the Hampshire area. Within, as long as we could get there all in one van, we would do all those gigs around Hampshire at the time. Bournemouth is now in Dorset, by the way. That's just something local councils came to an agreement over. But it was Bournemouth was originally in Hampshire,
Okay.
and all over Hampshire. I was all over the Hampshire area. I never got as far as London until I went to sort of turn full-time professional.
So when you did turn professional, were you a pretty ambitious young fella back in those days?
Well, I got the offer. You see, I was doing this band. I was having this band in Bournemouth, and in fact had John Rostral on bass. And he, at that time, John Rostral was living in an old ambulance actually in Bournemouth, hiding out from the London scene. And he got the offer to go to the Shadows. And that same day, I got an offer to join Alexis Corner in London. So within the 48 hours, I'd got packed up, got the organ in the back of a Buick, a big old Buick friend of mine had, and I came up, went to London, and of course I was with Alexis Corner for about a month or so. But during the intervals, I would get the members of the bigger old band, Colin Allen and Andy Summers and Nick Newell. I got them to come up and play in the intervals, whilst Alexis took a break, and as a result of that, we got sort of people knowing about us, and we got a deal with the Gunnell agency, and of course then there was an excuse for them to come up, and we all shared a flat in West London, and that's the beginning of the big roll band, the professional form.
So I guess looking back then, that connection with Alexis Corner was probably your first real break in the music industry.
Oh yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was great because I'd listened to him on record and thought, well, he's doing this kind of stuff I'm interested in, but I never thought for a minute that I'd get. His manager had organised some concerts for Jackie Trent. She's a wonderful singer, not with us, but she's fantastic singer, Jackie Trent, and she was a cabaret singer, and I was in the same place just doing two tunes with my friends who were in the cabaret band, and the manager, Peter Berman, just went, Alexis is looking for someone to replace Graham Bond and Herbie Goings, a singer and an organist. I said, well, I do it both, don't I? And so he said, could you be here in 48 hours? Phone up Alexis. So I phoned Alexis the next day, and he said, could you get here by tomorrow? So as a 21-year-old lad, I thought, if I don't take this, I'm never going to take it. I'm being asked by somebody who I've listened to, and I know he's right in the middle of what was then a very fledgling rhythm and blues scene. And I knew he was an exception to the rule there. And of course, I joined it in there at just the right time when it was all blossoming. It was just great. I mean, London was very good at that in that year, and for the next 5 years was really, really exciting place to be.
He was such a figurehead of the English rhythm and blues scene. You got to work with him right up in his later years as well, didn't you?
That's right up until virtually months before he died. Yeah, well, and the friendship was just stayed there. He was just great. He was a very good advice centre. He always had very good advice. Alex, he advised a lot of people during that thing when they didn't really know what they were doing. We were singing this rhythm blues thing, and we weren't quite sure whether we were doing the right thing, really, because there weren't thousands of gigs to do. but Alex was like a forefront, was like a pioneer in going and playing these places, and he would say, you should play so and so, and then you should play so and so, and of course we did, and the whole scene sort of grew from there all through that period. As I say, from just with this 61 through to 65 and 66, and then of course it all became very commercial after that. But during those fledgling early 60s years, it was wonderful to just go and play to people who just turned up. You didn't realise there's an empty hall 1 minute, and 20 minutes later, when just before they opened the doors, all these people would turn up, and they'd be really either blues fans, or they'd be country fans, or they'd be genuine rhythm and blues fans who'd been collecting funny records, what obscure singles, and of course we were able to play those things for them. They loved it, and of course it built up a whole rhythm and blues scene around London, and then eventually most of England. And we didn't realise that all over England there was the same little pockets of people that were appreciating it. So we travelled to see them. Got on the road and did up to 14 gigs a week. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
With no thought of sleep.
And it's well documented your stage name came from the jazz saxophonist Zoot Sims. Were you a big fan?
Excuse me. That was a sort of that was not a mistake. It was I went to see him. My brother was Dave Brubeck, a Frank Sinatra fan, whatnot, and he took me to see jazz at the Philharmonic, which, as you know, Norman Granz did a whole series of concerts all over the place, all over Europe, and brought people like Zoot Sims, Al Connitz, Tubby Hayes and Ronnie Scott were playing alongside it. So in one night when I went to the Winter Gardens, I saw with my brother, I saw 5 of the best jazz saxophone players that there were. Stan Getz, they were all on that bill, all playing. And I went back to my friend who was writing out, and he was writing out the advert in the local paper. We had to try and work out what would catch people's eye in a sort of a quarter of an inch by quarter of an inch for 30 bob. How we catch people. And he said, and I kept raving on about it. It was Zoot Sims and Al Connitz, and he went, Zoot Sims? He said, that's great. What about if we put Zoot Money? That'd be great, wouldn't it? It looks good. He started writing it down. And I went, yeah. But listen, we've got to get a saxophone in the band, because I've seen all these, and you've just got to have a saxophone in this band. Because up to then it was like a skiffle group in a way. It was just 2 guitars, bass and drums. So and I said, we've got to get a saxophone. We've got to get Zoot Sims. He was great. And of course, he put it down on this piece of paper, and it did look good in the advert, and it filled up the advert with just that name, Zoot Money. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a very strong-looking name. I've talked to people, graphic people, before since then, and they said, you're right, graphically, it actually is a very strong visual message.
Yeah, it's eye-catching, yeah.
Yes, very eye-catching. You've got 3 O's, you've got straight lines going on, you've got diagonals. I went, what are you talking about? I was just interested in the saxophone. I didn't realise it. When they get into all this. But anyway, he put it in the advert, and as a result, of course, people that became my name, Zoot Money, because I didn't actually have much confidence in putting down George Money, my original name. I mean, these days you can put almost any name down, but it was really quite, and of course it means, in bebop language, it means to be fashionable. It means to be hip and fashionable. So of course it's lasted through, because that's what it means.
Yeah, paid off.
yeah. And I'm with it now. That's it. And strangely enough, there's only been about 2 people that have ever used it as a name.
Mm.
So, and I eventually, of course, got to meet Zoot Sims. It was great. And I said, I feel a bit embarrassed me talking to you and calling you Zoot. I said, what shall I call you? And he said, call me what my mother called me, John. So I was talking to Zoot Sims, and he's calling me Zoot, and I'm calling him John. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
your biggest commercial success as a song was Big Time Operator. How did that song make its way to you, and did you see the hit potential in it?
Well, yes, it was. There were songs being written for me. Back then, they had, you get your writers, writing for you. These days, everybody does it themselves. But there were 2 guys that were writing songs constantly, Ray Smith and Tony Colton, who formed Head, Hands and Feet, which was a very underrated, very well appreciated amongst musicians band. Very Head, Hands and Feet, very good. Albert Lee in it, but they were writing stuff, and they came up with it, and they played it. And of course, I recorded it, and I was, it was given to me by them, and it was great. It was tailor made for me, really, written with me totally in mind. So, and I still play it today, of course, and I've re-recorded it on actually the album I sent you MP3s on. It's on that album, actually. The Book of Life. I've read it. It's on that album with a rearrangement, a bit more rocky. But yeah, they wrote it for me, and then I understand that your St. John, what's his name? The guy who's in a wheelchair. He covered it in Australia.
Yeah, he did.
He did a great job of it too. He was really good. I really like his voice, very strong.
Oh yeah, it was.
The rest of him's a bit weak. Of course, he's in a chair, but he can't walk or whatever. But he's still singing apparently, isn't he? He's still doing gigs.
Sadly, he passed away just a few months ago.
Was it really? Oh, yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah, he's a legendary singer down here.
He was really great. I mean, I followed him on YouTube later on, and actually I followed him, what little information I could get all the way through the years and stuff. And I tried to get a message through to him when I did an interview for him about a year ago, a long interview, rather like now, direct to a radio station. And I said, if anybody, tell him well done, because he was singing very strongly right up until the end. As on YouTube, I could see him doing, he was doing a young, afflicted young kids. He was playing to them. Yes. He was in a chair, and he was like, he got a tambourine in his hand, but he had a guitar player and a bass player either side of him, and his voice was strong as fuck. It was unbelievable.
Oh, he was a magnificent voice. Strong. He was a lovely man too.
Yeah, I saw the interviews with him, of course, on YouTube when they were doing special programs with the afternoon programs you have, and it got put on YouTube. I thought he was a very knowledgeable guy, and he actually was. He struck me as being, a very nice guy. Oh, that's a pity he's gone. Oh, dear me, that's terrible.
Now, a bandmate of yours in those days also was Andy Summers, you mentioned earlier, who of course went on to great success with the Police in later years. How did you first link up with Andy, and did he always seem like...
He was in Bournemouth. He was in that, in the second... He was the second... what do you call it? The second forming of the big rock band, the more professional one. I saw him playing. He was doing little jazz trios and stuff all over Bournemouth. I went to see him, and I thought, oh, it's great. He was doing, well, I don't know whether you remember, well, anybody remembers in Downbeat magazine, in the Playboy magazine, they had a poll winners, and it was like there were a poll winners trio, which was Ray Brown, Barney Kessel, and somebody else, and he had a band. he had his little group called the Pole Losers Trio, which is his way of like tipping his hat to the jazz thing. And of course, he did all these Barney Kessel things. And we met, and he was, during the day, of course, all of us were doing day jobs. And he was actually working in a jeweler's and watchmakers and jewelers during the day. And I was cleaning their windows. And we got talking, and of course I went along to see his gig, and he came along to see one of my gigs. And we started talking about what we'd like to do, and of course that's when I first met him. And of course the association still lasts till today. Of course I'm still in contact with him email-wise and whatnot, and he's helped. He's written a foreword on the box set that's on Repertoire Records at the moment, which I'm desperately trying to sell. It's a 90-track box set of the Big Roll Band, and it's out on Repertoire. And he's written a foreword on that, just to say what it was like in the Flamingo and places, the Soho of the 60s. He very kindly did that, and I'm still in contact email-wise with Andy. And when he comes over, he comes by and sees me. Sometimes, about 5 years ago, he came and sitting on a gig I did. He just borrowed a guitar and started playing. It was great. But so we're in contact. Yeah.
Did he always seem like somebody who had serious rock star aspirations back then?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I always knew. From the moment I met him, we all knew in the band that he would go on to greater heights, as it were, because he just never stopped practicing and playing. He would spend 6 hours, sometimes 6 hours playing. Where's Andy? Well, he's in a room somewhere. We don't know where he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he has done that. I don't know whether at this moment he does it as often, but all the days that I've known him for all those years, he's always done at least 3 hours practice. So it was inevitable. The thing what attracted our friendship and being in a band together was I could come up with a record and go, I don't know what this guy's playing on guitar, because I played guitar, but I wasn't a solo guitarist. I could play a couple of blues licks and stuff, but I was a rhythm guitar player, really, just to accompany my voice, because I really just wanted to sing. That's the reason I play the piano like I do. Because it's an accompaniment to me rather than my first instrument. So I used to give him the record. He'd go home. The next day, he would actually learn whatever it was, whether it be James Burton, whether it be, you name it, the guitarist, whoever it is, Franny Beecher, or any of those guitarists. He would come back the next day and he's actually learned how to play it. So really useful and as a working member of the band, because it was all very much a co-op situation. And the same thing applies to Colin Hammond, the drummer. That's why he played with me, because he was the first drummer I got to. I went through a few, I can assure you, in Bournemouth. They had to put up with my tantrums for a start, but he just played anything that I said. Well, I want to do it like this, and listen to this record. What do you think? And of course, he was capable of doing it all. Same thing. He'd come back the next day, and he had it off, as they say. He actually learnt it all.
Yeah.
So I needed to have that quality of musician around me if I was going to go, national, if you like. And of course, that is what happened. We did. We were able to, be put up against any band in the professional field, and it would be okay, because they both read music as well. I was insistent that we got somebody who had the feel, but also could read music if they had to. And of course, members of the band had to be able to do that. But we didn't actually write down any parts. The whole thing was, it was all done head arrangements, and we just had to have the quality of people that could do that without pieces of paper. You can't have pieces of paper floating about on the stage. It just looks amateurish to me, I know professionally, in a dance band, that's different because there's a lot of people, a large band. Obviously, everybody has to have the parts and everybody be reading from the same, hymn sheet, as it were. But in the band that we wanted it a whole lot looser. And they were the people that I could rely on to do that. And we've remained friends right the way through, even to today.
Tell us about the formation of Dantalian's Chariot. That was a real change in direction for you musically, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose you could say we couldn't. I can't actively say it was the drugs. That was part of it. It was the drug culture that actually changed all that. Not necessarily the drugs. Although we obviously did our share of dabbling, but it helped loosen up the idea of music and entertainment. For me, I realized that not everybody wants to see just like a small dance band or a small soul band. They like to see music that sort of expands their minds, so we stretch out. We wanted to write our own stuff because our own stuff was only going on B-sides up until then. Remember those B-sides?
Yeah,
folks?
B-sides.
Yeah, B-sides. Nobody remembers B-sides because they're too young. But we were only getting that, writing that just to try and get some royalties. So we said, well, what we should do is form a band where we do all of our own songs, because Pink Floyd and all those people were already doing it. And so we thought, so we'll have a concept that's, and I was actually into concepts, of entertainment. I thought, well, if we take the personalities out of it and put it so that it's like a continuous light show, a moving art show, then they would be listening to the music, because we all know that even films are not as strong when you take the music away. If it's the right music, people the visual art of film is not only just enhanced by the right music, it's made by the right music. I mean, you can't conceive of watching Ghosts, shall we say, with Demi Moore and whatnot. You can't conceive of them without having that theme that they had, Everlasting Love is one of the things, and also the Ghost theme, the music behind it, which is a fantastic piece of music, and that's what goes on behind the famous pottery scene. It's a Ghost music. I mean, so my idea was, or all of our ideas were, we'll use the music and we'll write our own film soundtrack, if you will, behind what we present on stage, and we'll take the personalities out of it by all dressing in white and have the coloration going on all over us and all over the backdrop. And for that purpose, we took on two guys who were really masters of the of all that psychedelic using oils. We had two overheads, those big, like a glass wok with being heated underneath with all coloured oils in it, which then became that psychedelic thing that you see, every time you see that, you think, oh, well, psychedelia, that was the late 60s. But we had two of those going. We also had lights that would react to the music. We also had strobe lights, so that you went along there and you just sat there and watched it all, and let the music, wash over you. Of course, my fans weren't ready for it, and of course, 10 months later, we ran out of enough money, the money that we earned the 3 years before that. We did all the money on that. We weren't making a profit. So I sort of gave up the Ghost in a way, and I decided to work for Eric Burden said, come to America, join the Animals, and you'll see America, and it'll be great. And I said, well, they don't know who I am. I just need the piano player. And he went, you'd be surprised how many people know you. And of course, when I got to America and the new animals, lo and behold, they were all going, oh, Zoot Money, we know your band, blah, blah, blah. They all knew about me. I thought, Jesus, I could have done this with a big old band. I could have come across here, But of course, all far too late, 10 months have gone by. It's a long time in the pop business.
Now, your time in the Animals ended rather dramatically in Japan, I believe. What exactly happened there?
Well, we had to get out of town, basically. Well, I will tell. I will reveal all in my memoirs, of course, but because it takes a little. We had arranged to go over. The manager had arranged for us to do, I think it was 35 gigs in about 2 weeks, which was workable because it entailed. It's not quite as horrendous as it sounds because it involved TV shows, afternoon talk shows, where we go and just do one song and then we bugger off and then we do an evening gig. And in some cases we did an evening gig in 2 sittings so that they clear the audience out and then we do an hour and a quarter and then they clear the audience out and then another fresh set of punters come in, all wonderfully suited and sitting. They were just so they're just so orderly. Those Japanese, it's incredible. They just sat there as though it was a seminar. I mean, very fantastic. But the idea was for us to do these 35 or so, 30 gigs, and that was the arrangement. However, during the stay that we had there and we were doing this, it was painfully obvious that the guy that had arranged it had made an arrangement with the dreaded Yakuza or somebody, one of those, well, I think it was Yakuza, and he'd promised them 45 gigs, and he'd only told us about 30 of them. So there was constant arguments between our manager and this little fella that was trying to appease these Yakuza bosses and us at the same time. He kept turning up with scuffed knuckles and marks on his face. He'd obviously been regularly beaten up. So you go back and you tell them they're going to do or whatever. We were unaware of this, of course. We were floating through Japan, loving it as the band was floating through, enjoying Japan and doing all what you do. You go down and buy a whole lot of electrical equipment. That was fantastic. That was incredible in Tokyo, unbelievable. But anyway, that I digress. Anyway, it all came to a head, and we came back one night, and the manager said, "Be ready to take off early in the morning." We're just going to. He had phoned his father-in-law, who had worked for CIA. He worked in the CIA. He was retired. His father-in-law, the manager, was Kevin Deveridge, and his father-in-law, as I say, was an ex-CIA man. And he had phoned him and his advice was, "You pack up, you just leave. It's just leave. Once you're on American soil, you'll be okay anyway. And if there's any trouble, I can inform people over there." Okay, so this is what we do. We come back. I'm slackied out very late at night after the gig. Right, go pack your gear up. We're leaving on the 7 o'clock plane or something. So we all jump in and think we have to get in the limos that are waiting outside the hotel. We get in the limos. And even then, there were blokes across the road with baseball bats waiting for some kind of sign from this Yakuza or whoever it was to say, "Stop those cars, don't let them take off at the airport." So we were screaming at him, "Just take off, go, you must go." Of course, the driver was petrified because he thought, "Oh, dear." Anyway, we got to the hotel. We did it. We actually got to the airport. And we got on the plane. No questions. Let's just go. And we didn't go back to America. we flew to Hawaii because the managers thought we the trauma with the trauma that we needed a bit of rest and rehabilitation. So we went to Hawaii for about a week, which was absolutely wonderful, of course. And once again, it was the first time I'd been there. So it was really, I mean, that was a wonderful week. Just wandering about in the sand, and everything was like in Disneyland, all huge. But that was the Japanese tour. As a result, I left all our equipment was left there. Not the guitars, we managed to take them, but my Fender Rhodes stage model, and amplifiers. We had Ampeg, and we all had about 200 watts worth of amplifiers with 4 sets of 4x12s. Well, musicians will know what they are. 4 12-inch speakers. You get a 4x12, and that's like 4 of them in one cabinet. We had 2, 3 other. We each had 2 cabinets, 2 4x12s. So all of that equipment we just left there, so that they could, they obviously took charge of it and sold it or whatever. We never saw that again. So that was the wonderful Japanese trip. I mean, the gigs were great.
Yeah.
The people were lovely. They were really lovely. All the people, they were great. Really, and we're talking respectful here. They gather around you for autographs and all the rest. But when you said, "Wait a minute," they really would. Whereas you wouldn't get that in America. They were like animals in America.
You've done a bit of acting through the years. Has that been something you've actively sought out, or have they just been roles that have pretty much fallen in your lap?
When we did the animals thing, when I started, we stopped doing those touring. As a result of that, Eric deformed, as it were, and went with War. I was floundering about in LA, and I decided I did my own album. And which I believe got to Australia. Somebody told me the other day that it was quite popular. Some guy that I did an interview with in Australia, he said, "Well, I really like that album." I thought, "Oh," and I had to do it just to prove that I was in the music business. Basically, had some great players on it too. But anyway, I did that and did a few gigs around the West Coast. And while I was doing that, myself and Andy Summers decided to take acting classes because there was a guy there doing a very good cheap rate. What's the name? And he had been with who's the method teacher that they all went to? Method actor. Yeah, the
I
teacher,
know who you mean, but the name just escaped me at the moment.
He was this actor had been a student of his and was running his own classes. So we did a bit of that, and so for a few months we went along there to the acting classes, which was really useful. It was great, and he gave me a lot of good advice as to how I could hone my, what I should do. Rather like a musician would teach you to do scales. These are the things you can do to improve your sort of acting skills should you want to do it. So I thought, great, this was good, and I enjoyed it all and whatnot. And when I finally got back to England, I met up with somebody, a friend of mine, who was going out with a director, and he said, "You should be doing commercials." He said, "You've got a face, you could do that." Basically it's mugging. Commercials is not like acting as such. It's like very, very quick hit. You can actually, if you've got an expressive face, and you have, because I've seen how you work on stage. He said, you've been selling these songs with your face all this time. Yeah, and this is very much what the teacher told me as well, the acting teacher. He said, your face is actually selling the song. Mm-hmm. You've been doing that all this time. It will be a small step for you to learn to do acting, as long as you can remember lines. And of course, you've also done that all your life, learning lines of songs and stuff. So it's just a small sort of step in your case. I mean, I wouldn't begin to say that acting is, if you've been a musician and a singer, well, it's easy to do acting. It's not. They are definitely two different crafts, and they need work in different areas, and not everybody can do it. But anyway, he got me in a couple of commercials, and as a result of that, I met another guy. I met an agent, and he said, "Well, you should have an agent to do this. You can't just go, hope that someone's going to call you." He said, "Should somebody acting for you?" So he did, and he recommended someone under him, and she had her own agency, and I was with them. I still am with them, actually. I'm not. I still. They occasionally give me the call and go, They want somebody to be a silly old man in this commercial. Do you think you could do it? And of course, the money was a lot better on commercials, as you probably know.
Yeah.
Commercials is not necessarily. And I eventually said, I did a couple of commercials that were okay, and it fitted in with my music career as well. So there's no strain to do a commercial. You're only on it for a day or so, 2 days at most. And you're in, you're out, you do your thing, you're mugging, as I used to call it. I call it eyebrow acting. In my case, my eyebrows were my fortune. But and as a result of it, she said, "Well, we'll get you into the National Theatre, and we'll do a small part, proper acting. We'll do that." And as a result of doing that, if we want to put you in TV and stuff, if you do something at the National Theatre, that's a good kudos for you to be accepted as a thing. If you can do a proper play, which I did. I was in there for a couple of months and worked with a couple of 2 or 3 really well-known actors, and it was great. And as a result of that, of course, she could sell me to commercial makers, and I did quite a few commercials as well as doing acting parts, and I did all the main acting, what do you call them, series, not sitcoms, but series. I did quite a lot of little appearances, just one-offs. I was either the comic relief or the false, the red herring in it. There's a dodgy-looking bloke in the corner, and you all the way through you think he's the guy that killed somebody, and it's not. It's somebody you don't suspect. I was the red herring in a lot of them, and I built up my acting chops by doing that. I never had to go back to do theatre, because I could make quite good money doing TV parts. So, and as well as that, I was doing gigs as well, so it all worked rather nicely during the 90s. So during the late 70s, and then going through the 80s right into the 90s, it was really good. So yeah, that's how I sort of fell into that. Yeah.
Hey, before I let you go, I've got to talk about this recently released box set, 90 tracks. It must have been a real labour of love putting that together.
Oh yeah, they did it all for me. But I sort of masterminded. They put the singles on it and everything, just to get 4 CDs that cover all the big rock band stuff. I don't think everything at all, but we found one of the CDs. It's down as a live. It's called Live because the first album we ever made was actually live in the studio. We just went in and went bling 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 bling, no overdubs. Back in those days, you just got it down. You couldn't afford the studio time. So that's a live album. Then there's another one, the Kloots Kleek album, which is everybody knows about. Live at Kloots Kleek. That's got 5 reviews in Downbeat. Actually, got 5 stars. Woo! Leonard Feather reviewed it himself. Woo! That was back then. But that's one of the CDs. Then another CD is tracks that we found on the BBC. We had done BBC Saturday morning shows, Sound of the 60s, with Brian Matthews, who, when we released it, he was he was ill. He died. We got him to sign the paper release before he popped his clogs. But his voice is on there, and of course it's great because it actually sets the scene for the 60s in England. Everybody listened to the sound of the 60s on a Saturday morning. And there's several recordings that I didn't realise that we'd done. They're very live and they're very good, and they're on that on one of the CDs. And then there's another CD, the fourth CD, that's got us live at the Flamingo and Manor House and a couple of other places from a CD that was recorded by the saxophone player Nick Newell, who sadly died early in the year, last year. My saxophone player, who'd been with me right up until then. His last gig, in fact, was with me. Nick Newell, lovely player, beautiful player, and he had taped it on his Grundig, and we captured it and put it out. So it really is live, and there's no sophisticated recording, mixing down and making it into stereo. It comes as it is. So you've got the big roll band stuff as we were for 90 tracks. I mean, it's a good investment for 40 quid. It's a really good investment if anybody, was hung up in their nostalgia and their original records are wearing out. Yeah.
So, what's the extent of your live work these days, Zoot? How much of the year would you spend out there playing?
I play every other month in a place about a mile away from me, down in Barnes, that's West London. I'll be doing the night between Christmas and New Year. I always do that down there. I play down there every other month. I play down there every month, actually, in Alan Price's band, because he lives about 50 yards away from the gig, and that's all the travelling he ever wants to do now. He doesn't want to get in a car and go anywhere. No, I'll just stay at home. That's it. So he does that every month down there. It's called the Bull's Head. I do that, but I'm actually doing other gigs as well with my band. The band I've got now is pretty good band I've got at the moment. Was just one saxophone. Unfortunately, I can't afford the 3 frontline thing. I do that for festivals. I get 2 extra players in just to get the big riffs going. But basically, I travel as a 5-piece everywhere. And I got Ronnie Johnson on guitar, who was with Van Morrison for a while. I've got a bass player who's from Scotland. I've got the drummer I use is Jeff Allen, who used to be, he ran, I forget the name of his pop group that did very well in the 60s, but people would know him in the music business, Jeff Allen. And the saxophone player I'm using now is Nick Payne, who's been with Georgie Fame, been with all sorts of people. Nick Payne, lovely player, good player. And also there's the record you're likely to play, if you're going to play them. There's a thing I did a year and a half ago with 2 guys from Southampton. They're twins, the Hours twins, guitar and bass, and we wrote songs together and recorded it all in their place. The Book of Life, I've read it. There's 2 tracks I think I sent you, I'm not sure.
Yes, you did, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's like really to get across to the young rock stroke blues crowd, younger people who might be, younger. Christ, everybody's younger than me. Yeah, well, they're in their late 40s, so they appeal to all the younger blues fans and stuff, because they really play very well. Yeah. And we wrote about 8 or so songs on that, and we're going to extend it. There's another couple which it'll get a re-release soon, and we'll be putting 2 extra tracks on it which we've written since then. So keep Treasure Island music, that'll be on. So listen out for it, folks. It'll be on Amazon or the like or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be on Amazon and streaming, all that streaming nonsense. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. Look, we hope one of our local promoters might get their act together and entice you to come down to Australia. We'd certainly love to see you.
I'd love to. I keep getting asked. By Eric Bergman when he makes contact with me. He nearly always says stuff like, "Yeah, when we were in Australia," I keep having to telling him, I never went to Australia with you, Eric. I've never been to Australia. It would be wonderful because so many people I know have either gone over, and I've met a whole lot of Australians that come to West London, as you probably know. West London, I don't know, is awash with Australians working in bars and whatnot. So I'm in constant contact with them. Yeah, I heard you when you were down there. No, I've never been down there. You were listening to that guy St. John and thought it was probably me.
That's probably it, yeah.
Yeah. But I'd love to come. I'd love to come.
That's good. Well, I hope that does happen. That would be fantastic. Hey, Zoot, thanks so much for your time. It's been an absolute treat to catch up with you.
Yeah, great, John. I'm glad to hear. All of you people down there, please get to your local promoters and tell them I leave work. I leave work down there somewhere sunny. I gotta go somewhere sunny.
Oh, we'll be here waiting for you.
Yeah, great, John.
Good on you, Zoot. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
Take care. We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.